propose the concept of the id, ego, and superego as three parts of the human psyche. The id is the most primitive and instinctual part of our personality. It operates on the pleasure principle, seeking immediate gratification of basic needs and desires. An example of the id is an action would be a hungry person impulsively grabbing food without considering the consequences or social norms. So, the next one is the ego. It develops as we interact with the world around us. It operates on the reality principle, mediating between the id and the external world. The ego considers social norms, rules, and reality to make decisions. For example, if someone is hungry but recognizes that stealing food would lead to negative consequences, the ego would help find a socially acceptable way to satisfy hunger. So, the next one is the superego. It represents our internalized moral standards and values, often learned from society and parental figures. It aims for perfections and functions as our conscience enforcing societal rules and ideals. An example of the superego in action would be someone feeling guilty after stealing food due to their internalized belief that stealing is morally wrong. So these three components interact and influence each other in shaping our thoughts, behaviors, and choices. Keep in mind that first theories are just one perspective among many in psychology. Also, the ego acts as the mediator between the id and the superego. Its main role is to find a balance between the impulsive desires of the id and the moral standards of the superego. The ego uses defense mechanisms such as repression and rationalization to cope with conflicts arising from these opposing forces. It strives to satisfy the id's need in a realistic and socially acceptable way, taking into consideration the constraint imposed by the superego. Essentially, the ego is to find a compromise that satisfy both the id and the superego without causing undue harm or violating societal norms. That's all.